Now, before looking in depth at a paper 1 section B English literature past paper question, I think it's really important to understand the layout of this form of question and what you should anticipate when preparing for your exams. Okay, so now what I've done is I've just basically summarized in very brief bullet points essentially what you should understand when understanding the structure of a section B question in paper 1 of the literature paper. Okay, now the first thing to bear in mind is that you only get one question you have to answer. You get a choice, so they give you 2 questions, but you only have to pick one. Okay, now as I've mentioned here, the choice of 2 questions, they usually tend to either be a theme related question, so that's one of the questions, or a character related questions. That's not to say that you won't necessarily get an exam paper where it's both themes or both characters, but usually you tend to have a choice between one question which is related to a theme and another question related to character, and you have to choose. Okay, then afterwards you're going to have, usually as well in this question, you tend to see a quote, a very brief quote at the top of the question, right? And what this is examiner's way of giving you at least a starting point for your discussion and for your answers. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that quote. Don't go off and talk about something else. You need to begin, especially your first paragraph. So this is your first paragraph after your introduction. You need to begin by focusing in on that quotation and analyzing it with some kind of depth and some kind of focus. Okay, now once you've looked at that brief quote, this question really focuses on your memorization skills. Okay, so now in this question, really most of the essay, or in fact all of the essay really, is based on you memorizing key quotations and discussing them and bringing them as evidence. Of course, also what you need to do is, of course, remember to always add context, character and theme points where relevant. Okay, so for example, if you're answering a theme question, of course you don't want to talk about too many other themes. You want to focus more on that theme, but then of course you want to really spread your analysis across lots of characters. If you get a character question, you can of course mention other characters, but really you're focusing on one character, but then talking about them in relation to how they are, and also of course how the themes in the play or in the text are really related back to this character. Okay, so now that we understand how paper 1 section B looks like, let's now have a look at a past paper question that you can have an idea of how really it looks like in theory, and then I'm going to show you a model answer that I have prepared and what you can consider when writing a response. So let's get started.